Good evening and welcome to the Public Ways Committee meeting, Monday, December 9th, 2024. It is 6 o'clock p.m. We'll begin with the approval of the minutes. We've had the opportunity to read them. Mr. Parrish, would you like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we'll move right on into the parks, the Memorial Park North Phase improvements update.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, member, this evening. I'll be taking the first two items. Please feel free to stop me and ask any questions you may have along the way. First up, the Memorial Park North Phase improvements. The splash pad has been installed along with the features on the splash pad. The contractor, or site contractor, is planning on connecting the sanitary line from the splash pad into the newly installed manhole this week. The restrooms, both sanitary laterals are slated to be installed this week. There's the one that's on nearest the playground. That it will be a new sanitary line that ties into the new lines that they're running. And the other one over by the courts, that will be tied into an existing sanitary lateral over on that side. Both water service lines have been run to each one of those buildings, and we're waiting our plumbing contractor to come in and run those utilities into the foundation pad itself. The new water main was filled last week and flushed, and the chlorine levels were at an acceptable level. So this week they will be pressure testing that line and doing bacteria testing. And once that's done, that line will be active. Final grading and the electrical pull boxes are slated to be set and are graded, and the pull boxes will be set this week. And the contractor is hopeful to get both the Alt and Grandview concrete patches done this week, weather permitting, so that those are good to go. Moving on to the Pocket Park. Our contractor is planning on pouring the concrete this week, if at all possible. Again, weather is a factor. They'll be installing stone base, forming, and doing some prep work in order to get that done. That'll be at the beginning part of this week. The contractor for the fireplace or fire pit install is slated to be done this week as well. So they'll get that done, and then the decorative stone in that area will be placed as well. The storm line that connects the Pocket Park to the storm sewer system on the west, going towards the west into the parking lot over there, was installed this week. And I believe that the synthetic turf in the second or third plaza area is slated to get installed as well.
I couldn't hear you. Good.
The synthetic turf,
yeah,
on the third level going down, that's slated to be installed as well. Hopefully this week, if not next. And that's all I have for both of those items. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Back to the splash pad, I'm gathering they're not going to be able to start that equipment up this year at all because of the weather, correct?
We're not going to start it up this year just because there's no point in charging that system with water and then having to winterize it. So actually there's caps that go over those features that are on right now that winterize the system, so they just let those on, and then in the spring we'll do the final water hookup and test.
Does that impact the warranty on any of that equipment? Okay. I was hoping that they would give us a little bit of grace on that, but okay, thank you. Any questions from Mr.
No, I
Parrish?
don't.
Mr. Williams?
I think I was curious about cameras, discussion on cameras for the parks.
So right now, I can hit on this, and if Mr. Hiscock wants to jump in, he can absolutely as well. We do have cameras in that area. We have one at the fire station. We have one off in the corner, kind of, I guess that would be where the baseball field was. There's a camera there, and then there's a camera as well in the parking lot over by where the tennis courts and pickleball courts are. And those are the PTZ cameras and handheld zoom, so they're monitoring the area at all times.
Well, I'm sure there'll probably be more installations once the lighting's up.
Correct. I think, we're going to look at it once everything's in and kind of finalize. That one pole that the one camera's on, I believe, is getting removed, so that'll be still on site, but at a different location.
And I had a question about a light and a camera at Wintergreen Park. I know there's discussions in the past. Is there any progress made in the budget or anything for next year on that?
So right now, we're looking at it, at potentially maybe putting a light out there. We're looking at infrastructure and feasibility of doing that. As far as the camera's concerned, I don't know if we're going to be doing it, if we have that budgeted for next year or not.
The discussion was doing something like a motion detected camera out there. We don't have any motion detected cameras in place anymore. We have an early generation camera that was somewhat motion detecting, and it does not operate well in that environment. So we were looking at more of a static, maybe a light that can be used, that or motion detected light perhaps, trying to balance the concern of the closest neighbor along with the park setting issue. So.
But I know there were some discussions when the new playground equipment was installed there, and they had kind of like an opening, that there would be a camera in that park, so let's see.
That would be something I think would be good to look at, just because that park does sit back there by itself, and be good to try and maybe keep an eye on that one too.
We have some monies in the 25 budget for cameras, so we can certainly evaluate that.
Good.
Okay.
Not earmarked for Wintergreen necessarily.
No, yeah, there's other parks that need some
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr.
extra
Rice.
eyes too.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to streets and sidewalks.
Okay,
Mr. Davis?
that's me.
Looks like you.
So 2024 sidewalk program is complete. We've mailed out all of the assessments, and those are all, so it's pretty much just a notch in the belt. We can move on to 2025, which we've begun already. So that's just an update for that, simple. And then the College Street and Treese Road grant applications through a variety of sources, and thanks to, like we just talked about, some of our grant research. There are 2 grants that we've found that ODOT is offering. One of them is a kind of a safety-based grant in general safety, and then one of them is a pedestrian and bicycle-based grant. And both of those grants would be something that would we could qualify some pedestrian improvements on College and Treese that would serve both Holmesbrook Park and the soccer fields. So we're right now preparing grant applications for both, for the Treese from College to Seville, and then College from Chester to, I think it's Westview, I think it's, so that stretch. And one of the features of one of the grants is they want to see enhancements at intersections to make sure they're a little bit more safe, pedestrian safe. So that'll be part of one of the grants that we'll start looking at. So anyways, both of those scopes are within the limitations of the funding for those grants, and so we have a good shot as anybody. So just some potential possible project for next year.
So you mentioned it's like a pedestrian bicycle type grant. Is that where it'd be like 2 lanes, side by side, where I've seen in some communities where it's asphalt?
Right now it's the design. There's some areas that'll be kind of tight. So the pedestrian would be the primary emphasis for those. The grant is a pedestrian bicycle grant. We'd probably focus on the pedestrian part, just because some of the areas, they want to make sure you don't have to go get right of way or move a bunch of poles and things like that. Something we can deliver quickly. And so really the pedestrian part of that is the easier part. The bicycle will be a little bit more time consuming.
Sure.
Very good.
That's good news. Any questions, Mr.
No, I
Davis?
don't.
Any other, Mr. Williams?
While we're on streets, I was just curious about our street improvement program for next year. If there's, have some that are great. I know it's early. I'm just asking if they've done the grading. Which streets they're going to address.
Notices have been sent
on a fairly early basis.
We've identified the areas that need improvement, and the notices have been sent out so that owners know that they have an opportunity to make the corrections themselves, or I don't know the exact timing on it, but I know that it's underway.
That's on the sidewalk. What about the streets?
Oh, streets, I'm sorry.
Streets, yeah, that's all right.
Sorry. It's my second month here, I'm sorry, for this one. I don't
Exactly.
I'll have to look into that one. I did not come prepared for that one. Unless Matt knows something.
No, I think it's slightly premature for us to identify roads in the next project, but what'll happen is the engineering department will go through that grading scale system. They'll update any new notes from this past season or anything on those regards, and then it'll all be discussed, I think, probably early January in terms of the discussion points.
Okay.
But Glenn and I have a 2025 actually project scheduling meeting set up already for the middle of December. We just need to know which projects are moving forward based on the budget discussions, and then we'll be able to sort of program some of those into it. Obviously, the street improvement program's a high priority item, and getting that out early in 25.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Thank you.
Mr.
I
Parrish, you
do, I do
question?
have a question. We've been talking all year about the removing of the paint from the curbs. Can you give me an update about where that is right now?
Sure. So we're finally able to identify a contractor that could come in and do it. There was a little bit of a hiccup when he first came in because of the paint that was used back years and years ago. It's an oil-based rubberized paint, so it's a mobile sandblasting company, and the media that he was using to sandblast that paint off the curb was just bouncing off of it because of the rubber. So what he did is he came back. He's going to take another crack at it. He's going to put a stripper on it and then sandblast it as well and see how that works out. So fingers crossed that works. We've already got our purchase order in with them and estimate signed. So hopefully within the next couple months, weather permitting, he said he can sandblast it throughout the winter. It's not too cold out, so he's going to give it a try with that, and we'll be able to see moving forward how that goes.
And where are you getting the funding for this?
That comes out of contracted services and streets, the 205.
Okay. And you do have enough funds to take care of that?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll just interject just a little bit, because John's being, he's not giving his effort. He reached out to, I think I counted 19 different individuals or vendors that he felt that could do the job, was hopeful to do the job, and extinguish that list. And there was only one that came back that could, and then, as you said, had some issues with that, and then was able to turn that around. So it's been an exhaustive year, but we're hoping that this has some success, because I, like you, recognize that it would be nice to have some improvement in that area. It's not an easy task, but I appreciate John and his efforts, but thank you for giving that update. But I wanted to make sure that they realize that you've been working, you've been trying.
Mr. Pellick, have you done a cost comparison? Would it be cheaper to paint them rather than to remove the old paint?
So before, when the street department handled painting curbs and mixing that in with other striping that we've done before, we had at least 2 months of 2 guys going around painting the curbs. So, the big cost wasn't in the paint itself, it was the labor, the man hours it took to doing that. Along with that, it's tying up 2 guys that could be used for repairing streets or repairing sidewalks, getting other work done. So cost-wise, it's more of a labor
It's the labor.
issue and the time involved with doing it.
That's something be efficient to use summer help? You still need supervision, I get it.
And that's the thing. You still need somebody to go around with them and kind of show them how to do it. And the most efficient way is to spray it, and it takes a little bit of a learning curve to use a sprayer to do that.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just piggyback on the responses today. I just want to make sure that the committee understands, this was an item that we took seriously very early in the year, and the mayor makes reference to it. I'm just looking through some notes I had. 19 different companies, people like everyone from Ohio Concrete and Drilling to North Star Paving, Bebecas Paving, Rulin, Kenmore Construction, Shelley Construction, big companies. We all reached out to try to see what solutions they had for cleaning these curbs up. And not only were they not interested, they also asked, good luck, and if you find one, let us know, because I think this is an issue. An example of the individual that we had come in quoted us initially about $8,000, a little more than $8,000 to come in and do it. He was unable to do the work that he believed he would have been able to do for that number. He re-quoted us $49,500 to do 20 foot of, basically 20 linear feet of curbs. And it just was, it was inefficient for him, and it wasn't working for us either. So we want to give him another chance. He thinks, and he's interested, and he thinks he's found a potential solution. But certainly, we're not going to budget that kind of money to remove paint throughout the city. That's just not the right way to do it, kind of thing. We agree that it does not look good, and we want to find a solution. It's just this has been a challenge for us. I just want to make sure I give you the magnitude of what the efforts we've tried to make on this particular topic.
A lot of phone calls,
Sounds like somebody could start a new business and really do well if they can figure it out.
I looked into renting a mobile unit to do it, but people, they don't really rent the units out. I think a lot now with the silica and, you know, having the right respirators and PPE involved with it. You have to have fit tests, you know, to
Right.
make sure that, you know, employees aren't handling them, that's ridiculous. So that's something that the companies really don't get into.
Well, I think maybe at some point, if we can't get somebody, we might want to look at hiring a contractor to paint them back up. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing the best we can.
No, we're not, it's no attack on you. It's just,
Sure, no,
there's nobody out there to do it, but, you know, it does look like bad. So, I know we all want to see it cleaned up and make the town look a little nicer. Okay, let's move on to the airport then, if there's no other discussion on stripping the paint off the curbs.
Okay. For the airport, this DBE evaluation, just for brief background, most contracts have a disadvantaged business enterprise provision within it, and we have that as part of our normal contracts. In this particular case, the FAA had asked for kind of want to improve our program, so we've submitted our program to them for review, and that has been submitted to them now in draft form, and we're working on finalizing it now. And so that's just one of the projects that's going on. It's nearing completion once we get comments back from them. So that's what that means. And then once that's approved, then we would be able to then continue to do our contracts with using that approved language from FAA. Just to, it's something that they've required us to do. And just moving forward on the other two projects, there really isn't any updates from the last meeting. We are needing to go back to bid for the PAPI project, which should be happening here fairly shortly. And then the third project, the AWOS, it is still in the design phases, and so that's awaiting some feedback from our consultants. So not a whole lot to talk about on those two.
Okay.
Do you have an update on the hangar rental situation?
No, we don't. We're proceeding with the legal proceedings that we had intended to, which is basically something akin to an action of ejectment, which is basically asking the court to declare that they do not have a property interest and still to have folks vacate their hangars.
And it's been 2 months since the moratorium on the eviction notices went out. Isn't it been almost 2 months? Isn't it in the middle of October?
Yeah, we asked them to vacate by October 18th.
Mm-hmm. And why hasn't that been the initiative? I mean, what are the barriers?
To why they haven't?
Why they haven't, yes.
Well, yeah, they basically had said, hey, we're going to look at legal action to stay that, or basically to adjudicate that, or to see if they don't have to move out.
Okay.
So we've hired attorneys that are moving to the next step in the process after the vacation notices went out.
Okay, what other options had we considered prior to the eviction notices? As I've stated in some notes to you, that if I had 20 units, buildings, or whatever, I would love to lease to one organization. But if not, I mean, it seems impractical that you'd have to lease those individually. Would that not speed up the situation and take care of this problem if we were to lease individually. I know it's been 5 years and they don't have an interest. I mean, the lease is gone, and you did negotiate in good faith with that original lease at the end. It said you must negotiate in good faith, but 5 years seems like a long time to negotiate in good faith. So what did you think of what other options did you have prior to this? Because I'm playing kind of Monday morning quarterback, but it seems like we're in an impasse and it just keeps going on. And there must be other ways to solve this problem.
Yeah, well, I think that, our intent would be, once the hangars are returned to us, for us to go in and assess their condition, and based on that, determine kind of the time frame and what our next steps are going to be. We have had access to the hangars. Most of them have been locked. We've seen them when we've been out there, certain hangars. But we've heard a couple different things. I've heard from some people that they're in poor shape and there needs a city investment. And I've heard from others that have said, hey, you know what, they really have overstated that, how poor the condition of these hangars are. They're not in that bad of a condition. So step one would be folks vacate the hangars. Step two would be we go in and assess their condition, determine, what if anything needs to be done, what if any investment the city is going to make in that. And then that would kind of be the decision point for deciding, what we're going to do with those next, and what time frame that would occur.
That wasn't the question I asked. What did you consider other than this, what you're doing right now? That's kind of the process you're in right now. What did you consider before that, before this? And could we jump back to some of those things? Could we, we don't have to take this hard stance where the legal situation is just extending it even farther and we don't have revenue?
Well, I think what you're asking is, did we look at negotiating with folks on a one-by-one basis? We didn't. Of the 27 units, I think there are about 15 different owners. Some of the, not owners, occupants, 15 different plane owners. And some of them have more than one unit, so it wasn't a situation where, we'd look at each individual unit as being negotiated with a particular person. Two other things come into play here. One is we've not raised our airport maintenance fees in, looks like about 20 years. And the way the ordinance is written now is that if you have multiple planes, you get a pretty significant discount on those fees to the tune of about 40%. So I think it makes sense that we look at the fee structure, and if nothing else, consider updating the rates just because they haven't been updated in a long time. I will tell you that some of the folks out there have apparently subleased their hangar space and have charged for it. They've, in essence, been charging others for the use of our property. So there's a lot that still needs to be sorted out, and we're just working through the process.
Again, that did not, you answered it a little bit. You said that, they gave me other explanation. Why can't we resolve this situation sooner than going through this legal process? What other avenues can we take? And you said you considered it, but you did not contact or with those individuals that had the 15 or 16 different individuals. We are in a situation where if this was a private matter and I wasn't getting income, I'd be all over this. I mean, good faith is good faith, maybe for 6 months or a year or whatever, but now we're into the fifth and we're almost into the 6th year. And so how can we resolve this in an amicable way quickly? It's no reason to keep going the path we have if we're running into more obstacles.
Well, I would say that is exactly why we've gone this route, is that after our last offer was rejected, we said, it's been 5 years, we can't continue to do this. I will tell you that we are undertaking a rate study of other local airports. I had done that in 2023. We're in the process of updating that right now. And I would look at it that there is significant market demand for hangar spaces. So once we get a better idea what the current market rates are right now, that would inform what we decide to do with those hangars going forward.
Again, well, how can we cut this? And this is just a continuation of the same thing. We may need to take a new avenue of how to solve this. I've been contacted by individuals that have planes out there, and they want a deal with you individually, not the association. Why are we trying to do this association type of thing when we did negotiate in good faith? Okay, but now, and so why are we still working on that association idea?
Let me clarify something. We're filing individual suits against the occupants. It is not something that we're taking a legal action against the proposed association that was formed.
Okay, but why are we still, that's fine, we've moved on from that, but why do we have to negotiate with individuals or something? Again, you did in good faith with that association, which most of the members are gone, and you're just telling me things that are giving excuses for it. We need to solve this problem and not keep letting it perpetuate. I think that might be the mode of operation by at least one of the members, I get the opinion of, that wants to keep doing this. Why bend to that? I mean, why accept that? There's no need to accept it. You need to move forward. And if you need to sue that one person or all of them, that's fine, but you could negotiate with the others in the meantime.
Mike, I'll jump in there. So, Mr. Parrish, you just answered your own question. Our decision has been to sue each one.
Okay.
And we will proceed in that fashion. I will not talk to you in an open meeting about our litigation strategy.
I understand that.
Do you?
Okay. Yes, oh, absolutely. But I just wanted to know what other avenues.
Do you understand why we can't answer the question you're asking?
Yes, I do. But it
Okay.
doesn't mean I can't bring it up.
No, it does not. But if you understand that, then you understand that we're not going to answer the question
Yes.
as to what you think we should do about this.
Well, I was just looking at other
We are as
avenues.
frustrated as anyone that for 5 years we've been given the runaround by folks who are occupying our property. We are frustrated that we learned for 5 years that some of those occupiers have been charging people rent and collecting rent on the city's dime. We would not let any citizen use city property and get away with what's been getting away with at these hangars. It is time to sue the individuals. It is time to bring those actions. It's time to take our possession back. That's what we're going to do.
And there's still a holdup, though.
No.
The legal
There
aspect.
is no holdup.
Well, why haven't solved the problem yet? Because it seems like there's some legal matters yet.
The legal matter is what we're
Okay, and you're choosing
choosing
to do?
to take.
Okay.
That's what we want to do. We have an agreement. The law department's in charge of setting up those agreements with the lawyers that we've hired. They're working through some conflict-related issues. I believe they've got that all figured out. We will file actions against folks. They will have the ability to hire their own attorneys or come forth and meet with us to talk about how they want to answer our complaints.
Okay. Well, then I'll have to defer from there. I just want to raise the question. I want to raise the question.
Pretty much consideration of litigation at this point.
Okay. I'm good.
All right. With nothing else on the agenda, I will check and see if anybody else has anything over here. Mr. Parrish?
I move,
No. Anybody have questions over here? Okay, the one thing I have, and I've brought this up several times, and I know everybody's busy, and Mr. Bellick's looking and smiling at me. He knows what I'm going to ask. Acronyms. All our acronyms. I can't keep Pappy straight from TIF, from RAD, so if we could get those, please, with the acronym.
Cheat sheet of acronyms?
Yeah, a cheat sheet of acronyms and a brief definition. I mean, there's just so many. We don't deal with it daily like you do. I mean, I got a whole list of acronyms that I deal with at my job, and I'm sure you do too, and to keep them all straight, it's just a challenge. So it would really be nice.
I have begun that list.
Okay.
So I've got a running list. I just need to get more input from some others.
I just saw Mr. Bellick smile because I think he had said one time he was working on a list too. So I would appreciate it. I think other people on council would, because it's just sometimes your head's going everywhere.
That's why on some of the agendas, I know that I prepare, I try to put the acronym and spell it out.
Yes.
For you, so it does take repetition to.
And I apologize, I'm
No, no.
I'm not that quick on those things,
No,
I'm
no,
really
you
not.
passed us that. We'll get
So,
to that.
all right, our next meeting is going to be January 13th here in Chamber Councils. Time should be 6 o'clock after economic development again. If there's nothing else, I will accept a motion to adjourn,
I make that motion.
and we are adjourned.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.